What has your experience been so far, right? I think you have a kind of unique story in the sense that, you know, for people who don't know, Gerard came in to the industry as a solo agent. He joined our team, and I think there's a unique kind of, story there because it shows that you had a level of commitment by yourself, similar to what I did, right? I mean, I was on my own. And then I ended up deciding to join a team as well. And I would just like to kind of hear your take on what your experience has been so far, any tips or advice that you have for someone, because I think we're seeing a lot of people who do want to get into the business. I don't know, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I think that I came in originally to Berkshire Hathaway as a solo agent. I had, when I was getting my license, I had kind of the plan already in place that I need to find the people that are doing it well. That's one of the reasons that I came to Berkshire Hathaway, and it's one of the reasons that, I came to, you and Blake, was that coming from Letterman, where I got to watch those bands constantly on a daily basis, look at what they're doing and how do they execute, how do the best in the business execute what they're doing. And then how can I take that, and learn from it? I think that that Letterman experience really helped me just in that sense, because I think that a lot of, everyone knows a real estate agent, everyone knows that, you can go to any number of places and potentially not get the same experience. But me coming from where I came from, I said, this is what I want to do. I want to learn from the best. And
for those of you who don't know, Gerard came to us initially to join the team, and we told him we're not taking on any agents right now.
Rejected.
We basically rejected him. That's the nice way of putting it.
That's not basic. It's direct.
And he still holds a grudge. No, but in all seriousness, we told Gerard that we weren't hiring at the time. It wasn't the right fit for us, but we told him, if you come into the office every day and you show that you're committed, we'll be here to support you. Come over to us, ask questions, whatever you need help with, we're here to help you out. And we'll see where we're at in 6 months, 9 months. We'll reevaluate things. And Gerard came in every single day. Every single day like clockwork. He came into the office, he showed up every single day, which, number one, for realtors, is just showing up. A lot of people don't want to go to the office. A lot of people don't want to commit to a firm schedule. But you did every single day, 8:45, like clockwork. You came into the office, you sat down, and it showed. I mean, we recognized it and we saw that. So
I appreciate it. Yeah, but that's what it is though. You have to be dedicated. If you're going to try something new, if you're going to do it halfway in, you take a half measure from,
can't be half pregnant.
Wow.
No. You either are or you aren't.
Yeah. That's what it is. You really have to be willing to kind of show up. Like you said, a lot of people don't understand how important it is to literally go into an office like we have and just literally listen, as creepy as this might sound, but listen to how other agents speak on the phone. Listen to, just the cadence.
How they handle certain conversations.
Right. Because you're not only learning about the conversation, but then you're also learning how to deal with the client.
And you
just sitting there is important.
You said the cadence, right? So it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Exactly. And that's a huge part of it.
That's 90% of it.
Right.
It's all how you say it.
Yeah. But people don't realize that. A lot of new agents that kind of just, they're like, I'm going to get my license and then I'm just going to start selling houses. If you're not willing to put in all of that back work of literally just being a creep, literally just sitting. I would come in. I didn't have any deals. I didn't have any clients or anything. I would literally just come and sit in the deal and sit at the desk, and I would just type on Google, and I was literally just sitting there listening. I was literally just trying to literally pick up anything that I could get, and then also try to think about any questions that I could potentially have, and then just present those questions.
That's awesome.
But luckily it's worked out, but it takes a lot. Most people.
It takes time.
Yeah, and if you're not willing to do that, you're just not going to make it.
Well, today, with everybody's microwave mentality of expecting instant gratification, they don't realize. And I tell everybody who joins the team, I'm like, if you come into the business as a brand new agent, you should expect to not make any money for a year. Like, come in and set that as your expectation. Right? The first year, the only thing you're here to do is learn.
Right.
And that's essentially what you did. Obviously, you had a very interesting way of doing it. But you also, because you came in every day, you shortened that learning curve. Mm-hmm. And that's why you were able to do a tremendous amount of business as a brand new agent once you joined the team in your first year, which you don't see. I mean, you're doing more deals right now than a lot of agents who've been in the business for 5, 10 plus years.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, it's showing up every day. You know, I mean, that's really what it is. So many people, you know, I was just thinking about it, that one of the worst things I think that could have ever happened to me, and this didn't happen, but like, let's say, you know, just on a different world, that like, let's say I got my license and then I had my grandfather or something was like, I have a $5 million house and I want you to sell it. And like I did. And say in the height of the COVID craziness, I sold it in 2 weeks, and then I got my big check and I was like, well, I am a successful real estate agent. It almost would have been detrimental to my long-term experience or my long-term career, because, you know, like, you know, just to go back to what we were talking before, like, you have to struggle. Struggling is where you figure out where things work. You know, like if things just become easy right away, at some point it's going to get really difficult, and you're not going to be prepared for that.
Right. And we saw that, I mean, even last year in the market, right? Like, the agents who all of a sudden their business doubled or tripled from 2019 to 2020 and then 2021. Right. All of those, a lot of them had an inflated sense of self. They had an inflated sense of what they were and who they were. Right. And it came back down to earth last year. Mm-hmm. And you saw the top agents who took that as an opportunity, who had laid the groundwork to grow. All of their business went up 10, 15, 20% in 2022, whereas other people were seeing 50, 60, 70% reductions in business. So you're absolutely right. A lot of people, they had one good year. Right? It's like the baseball player who has one good season, and now they think that's who they are. And in reality, greatness isn't achieved off of one good year, right? Yeah. It's consistent excellence year after year after year after year over the course of an entire career.
And then even think about that. Like, remember Brady Anderson?
Yeah.
He had 50 home runs that one year, and there might have been some extra reasons as to why that happened. But he's like a joke now because he had one good year. And then the next year, everything just went down and continuously went down. You don't want to have a career like that. You don't want to have a career where you're like, all right, well, I'm a shining star right out of the gate. And then my star is gradually getting dimmer.
It's true. Any tips or advice? I mean, what's your take on things right now? Obviously, market's very active. Where do you think this goes over the next couple years? We've got banks on the verge of collapse. Yeah. Interest rates are up, then down, then up again. Where does this all end, Gerard Smith?
I mean, you know, a lot of people talk about like a potential collapse and things like that. Analytically, I don't see that happening. You know, I mean, I hear a lot of times.
What do you define as a collapse?
Like 08.
Give me a percentage. Because I think that's another thing. People are like 5% collapse.
Well, that's not a collapse. No,
it's a correction.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's par for the course. That's going to happen. You know, like eventually that's going to happen. But then eventually it's also going to go up 10, 15% over time. You know, it's micro and macro. One of the things that I have to deal with on a regular basis right now is with buyers where, I mean, I set an open house last weekend where we had 15 different couples come within a 2-hour period. Literally, I was like running out of like information that I had printed. But I have other buyers that are like, well, the market's like slowing down. And it's like, well, maybe, but like, I'm not seeing it. Like, you know, like I'm seeing like highest and best, and I'm seeing, you know, like bidding wars pretty consistently. I put a house on the market 2 weeks ago. We had 14 showings in like within the first 24 hours of me posting it or, listing the home.
You had them scheduled.
It was to the point where like the seller was like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I can't like be in my house this weekend.
It was almost back to like activity wise, back to where we saw it a year ago.
Right.
Which is crazy when you think interest rates are double, right?
Yeah.
And prices were up 5%.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. It's like,
but I think that part of our job has to be educating our clients as well as possible on that, because a lot of times people listen to the news and they hear like these like scary doomsday things that are non-experts' opinions on the situation.
And you also always, when someone is telling you something, you have to know where is their incentive lie.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Like I have a friend of mine who's a financial advisor. And so he's been talking a lot about the markets and, everything that's going on. And he says, he's like, the news never has you wake up in the morning and tells you everything's okay, go back to bed. Right? Have you ever seen that ever? No. Their job is to sell advertising. And to do so, they need your attention. And to get your attention, things either have to be really good or really bad. And right now, they sell the idea that things are really bad. And with real estate, it's the same thing. Not only that, but what they're talking about could be applicable in certain areas, but you have to take, as you said, a microeconomic view on what's happening locally, right? I don't necessarily care about what's happening in San Diego, California, or Austin, Texas, right? Yes, in a macro level, signs of things happening in other markets could make a difference and matter. But if your job is to put your family in a house today for the next 15 years, you need to be educated locally on what's going on and understand what those options are. And our job and our team and our philosophy of not focusing on the sale, but focusing on being a real estate advisor, right? Our incentive is not to sell you the house, but to build the relationship and nourish and care for that relationship, as people say, as I say all the time, for the next 20 or 30 years, right?
It's true. It's true. And that's one of the benefits that we kind of provide, I think, is being so analytical with not only facts, but figures. We can literally pull up, statistical information, be like, I know that this is what you're hearing, but this is what math is saying. And if you want to argue with math, like that's
good luck.
Like that's fine, but like you're probably going to lose at some point.
And we saw that with the buyers who waited from last year.
Exactly.
Right? They now pay twice the interest rate.
Exactly.
They pay 5% more, and that house cost them 20% more.
Well, that's
a month.
That's the thing. The interest rates went up, but also the price of the value of the house went up. Correct. So now you've just screwed yourself.
And the thing that I always, and this is every investment guru out there tries to predict what's going to happen, right? The best thing you can do is not try to predict what's going to happen, but observe what is going on in the last 90 to 120 days. And I get a kick out of the people who say the market's going to crash, and they call for the market crash for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, and then the market crashes, and they're like, got it. I timed it. I called 2007. Meanwhile, they were calling for a crash since 2000, and they missed 75% of the growth for a 25% correction. Exactly. And it's like in 2017, 2018, you weren't even in the business yet. People were saying, these prices are getting out of hand. They're getting crazy. This is too expensive. And it's like, if you believe that and you waited, right, you missed 50 to 60% appreciation. And even if the market corrected 25% today, it would still be 20 to 30% more expensive than it was 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So all you did was cost yourself time, money, and quite frankly, quality of life, because you waited on the sidelines and didn't own your home and provide that kind of foundation for your life and your family, because you listened to some guy who was trying to sell you advertising on Fox News or CNN.
Yeah. And I mean, even if you think about the people that did, unfortunately lose their homes in the crash of, 07, 08, look at what the value of those houses are today. You know, I mean, that's a very different argument. If you were able to, you know, maintain your mortgage at that point, you are doing wonderfully today. You know, like that's why it's.
Well, then that's why, and I tell everybody, it's like you have to be comfortable. Like even now, people are trying to sell people on like, hey, you know, buy a house, you're going to refi. And it's like, okay, that might be true. But every buyer, and you can ask every single person that I work with, I don't tell them, oh yeah, you can refi, that's what you should be focused on. I tell them, you need to be comfortable with this payment today,
exactly.
This price today, the economics of today. If you can refi 12 months from now, 18 months from now, 24 months from now, and that's a plus, great. But you can't bank on that. You can't bank on 2007. Real estate always goes up in value, so that's why I'm buying. I don't care if I own 5 houses and I got 110% loan on every single one of them. It's like fundamentally, things are out of your control, right? The contingency planning. So you have to have that balance of the happy medium, right? Of like being aggressive, but being conservative and being educated. And I think that's what our job is to try and, I always say my job is to give you the information to let you make an informed and comfortable decision, right? I give you the information, you're knowledgeable, you can make an educated decision and feel comfortable making a decision for yourself once I've provided you with the accurate information. That's all we're trying to do here, is help people get the info to make an educated decision. What they decide to do is totally up to them.
Yeah.
And that is our job.